Hello and welcome to Channel Duello. Way of the Witcher expansion is out and everyone is testing out the new cards and building new decks, and hopefully most of you guys are enjoying it while doing so. In my case, I've been building new decks and testing out new cards as well, and shot a couple of deck guide videos in my channel, but they were in Turkish, and this time I wanted to shoot in both languages. So if you're a Turkish speaker, you can check out the Turkish version of this video, but this video is for my English viewers, English language speaking viewers. Well, the faction I selected is Skellige, and the leader ability is Ursine Ritual. Well, you may naturally think that, Lippy deck. Well, it isn't a Lippy deck. It's actually using the Ursine Ritual ability as it's designed to be used. I mean, there's no recycling. You're just using your cards, doing your point slam, and controlling the battlefield with this deck. And since Ursine Ritual is intended to be used on self-wound cards, I mean the cards that benefit from getting damaged, I have a lot of targets for Ursine Ritual leader ability, and mainly, of course, we have Series Ancrate, and most of you guys are familiar with the cards. When she comes into play, she spawns a Drum and Shield Maiden, and if you hit the Shield Maiden with one of your leader ability charges, she will summon all copies of it from your deck. And if you were careful during your mulligan phase, there will be 2 more Shield Maidens in your deck, so they will come into the battlefield as well. But you can only do it once. This is not a Lippy deck, I repeat. So be careful while you're doing it, so you won't have another chance. Anyway, what are the other cards? Another key card in this deck is Arnegat. One of the reasons I wanted to build this deck was, to use Arnegat properly. Well, Arnegat, when he is deployed, gains 1 armor for every damaged unit on the board. Both your units and your opponent units. So how can you maximize this ability? Well, you can self-damage your units, and then you can damage opponent units, and that's how the deck was designed. So I have some, I mean the leader ability obviously damages my units, and there are some cards that will pink my units, and then for example, I mean Bear Witcher, Quartermaster, and Bear Witcher Adept, they will usually be in damage position with red health on them. So on my side of the board, there will be at least 3 or more red health units, and if you manage to damage the opponent's units, like if the opponent has 4 or 5 units on the board, Arnegat could come with 8 or 9 armor on it, and then when your opponent plays a unit, you can damage that unit by Arnegat's power, which is 7, but since he will have armor on him, that armor will absorb the damage, and then he will survive. And when your opponent plays another unit in the following turn, he will again damage that unit. So he can be really powerful, and you will see in the videos. But be careful. You need to have 4 or less cards in your hands. So Adrenaline 4 will, I mean, if you're playing it early, that ability will not be, applied, and so you could lose Arnegat. So those are the 2 main cards. What about the other cards? Let's take a look at them one by one. I have Oneiromancy. This is not a devotion deck, obviously, and this is not a warrior deck. So I am, free to use neutral cards, and Oneiromancy is obviously a great card. And there are some key cards that you need to draw to win the game. That's why Oneiromancy is in it. But there will be times you may not be able to draw it, because there isn't a lot of thinning in this deck. And then what else? I have Wild Boar of the Sea. Wild Boar kind of lost its popularity, but I think it's still a great long round card, and there are plenty of opportunities in this deck to damage your opponent units. And well, I don't have great sword or dagger, but with wild boar you can still get a lot of damage on your opponent's side of the board. So it's really a nice tempo swing there. I have a single karate heat wave. Obviously I'm not playing devotion, so heat wave needs to be in the deck. If you're not playing devotion, that's how meta is shaped. It's an auto include card. I have Swell Blood Totem. It's also compatible with what I'm doing in this deck because there will be damage units, you can heal them and so on, and you will need proactive cards. You will need cards to bleed your opponent sometimes, and you will need cards that could go really well in short rounds. So Swell Blood Totem, you know, is great for all these situations. I have Morkvark Heart of Terror. He is a warrior, and I'm not using, obviously, Blood Eagle, but I have Oneiromancy, just in case I can, you know, draw him, and he can win me the game, because there are still several decks on the, you know, ladder, but Morkvar will be useful when I play. Heron Kaduk. Well, this location is really great. All of the locations are really good, but this location is better than all of the rest in my opinion, because the order ability is really solid, and again, this fits the theme of the deck really well. I will have a lot of damaged units, and after the turn I play Heron Kaduk, I can use the order ability and heal adjacent units by 3. So if you're paying attention to the placement of the units on the board, you need to put your damage units, or let's say the units that are expected to be damaged next to Kaduk. You can hit the order ability and then heal them. The main candidate for this healing ability is Bear Witcher, and most of the time in this deck Heron Kaduk will spawn Bear Witcher, but you need to be careful with Adrenaline 4 obviously. Bear Witcher will hit himself by 3 and then hit an enemy unit by 3 as well if you have Adrenaline 4. So you will get 5 plus 3, 8 points from Heron Kaduk, I mean Bear Witcher. And if you play another Bear Witcher, I mean you can play 2 Bear Witchers and put Kaduk in the middle of them, you can heal them by 3 and you'll get 6 more points. So that's a lot of points actually, getting from 2 bronzes with the help of this location card. So I think it's a really great combo and interaction, and we're seeing these 2 cards in almost all Skellige decks right now. Blue Boy Lugos is really a great fit in Ursine Ritual decks. Well, I have 5 leader charges, so one of them will be used for obviously series. And if you don't have, you know, specific targets, Blue Boy Lugos is great to use the remaining leader charges, and whenever this unit takes damage a random unit by 2. So you will hit opponent's units as long as you keep using your leader charges, and there are other options to trigger Lugos actually, and Quartermaster is great for that. Quartermaster can damage an allied unit by 2 times, and then spawn a Witcher student again 2 times. So that's a lot of value, especially if you're hitting your Lugos. Also you can ping your series spawn, the Shield Maiden. That's also an option, but and again, I mean, and this ritual ability has plenty of charges. But if you're queued up against Lockdown, for example, you're gonna need to ping your own units, and that Quartermaster could hopefully help with that. And what about the other gold cards? I have Gremist in the deck. Well, this is not a warrior deck, so I'm not concerned about drawing him, because I will have Oneiromancy, and Gremist could sometimes save the day by purifying defenders, especially. If you're playing against a Poison Nilfgaard deck, you can again purify your units. I don't have a lot of alchemy cards. There's actually only one, Giga Scorpion Decoction, which is another great card. So very rarely you can, you know, purify twice if you're playing Decoction in the middle of purifying process. And this is the card that I'm most uncomfortable with. I had 7 provisions remaining and I selected to use Herkia. The new Witcher card Gert could be used instead of her. But that's a reactive card, and this deck has a lot of reactive cards in it, so I need some proactive cards. Even though Herkia isn't a strictly proactive card, because, you know, the random damage, and if the opponent has no unit on the board, that random damage will disappear. So, but it's somehow, let's say, proactive. But if you're not, you know, okay with using her, you can always go ahead and use Gert. I would recommend that as a replacement. Then that card is this. And this could be a really good early round selection, and by the way, because most, I mean, the adrenaline cards you have are usually, they usually trigger at 4, and this card needs to be played before adrenaline 4, so that could really go well. But again, I mean, this is a reactive card, so you may not get the value that you think you're getting. What about the bronzes? I have 2 Bear Witchers. They're obviously great in this deck, especially with a location. And since they will be damaged, you know, they will make Arnegat even better. And 2 Shield Maidens. Obviously, since you're playing a series, you need to have 2 of these. A single Quartermaster, 2 Gutting Slashes, and you can easily achieve Bloodthirst unless you're playing a green health heavy deck. A single Bear Witcher Adapt. This is again fulfilling the need for proactive cards. You're gonna put it, and then he will grow up to 7 unless he is destroyed. And well, I mean, until reaching 7, he will have red health. Again, that could help with Arnegat. And there is a mini beast interaction here. This Brockwar Hunter recently got a buff. Now he has Zeal, and that really improved his quality. And so you will get 5 points, at least 5 points from him. And he is an engine. If the opponent can't do anything about it, he will keep hitting units once in every 2 turns. But if you play a beast, you can hit units every turn. And I have 3 beasts to go along with them. 2 Savage Bears, which are already good 4P cards. And since they are beasts, they will trigger the Hunter's ability. And they have bleeding as well, which is really nice to get Bloodthirst. And a single Squirrel, you can pull him with Oneiromancy. And in the following games, you will see how it saved me, not saved me, but really helped me win the game. And he's a beast, or she, I don't know the gender of this species. And that card will also trigger Hunter's ability. So that's about it. I think the cards have really nice interactions between them. I like how it's being played. And the funny thing is, your opponent is thinking that they're playing against Lippy deck. And you can pretend to play as a Lippy deck. You know, there are a lot of common cards, like the cards that are shared with both decks. For example, I mean, Series is really a nice turn 1 or the round 1 or the first turn of your second round card. So, you know, typical Lippy decks play this card. So, and you have Brockwar Hunters and Savage Bears. They are also in Lippy decks. You know, Bear Witchers are in Lippy decks. Quartermaster, Gutting Slash. So, as you see, the bronzes are usually the same. There are some differences, so you can, you know, on purpose play the same cards, and then the opponent could think that they are matched up against Lippy, and maybe Heatwave your Series, which will only be a 4-point Heatwave, because you're not gonna play her again. So that's a good thing. And if they Heatwave your, you know, Series, Arnegat, you know, I mean, Arnegat can survive. and will not get heat wave. But I mean, some people are using Curse of Corruption and other type of removal, so don't expect too much out of him, because you know I don't have a defender in this deck. Well, that's about it, I guess. I have 3 sample games for you, which were pre-recorded, and I'm gonna be again doing a post-game commentary on them. And all of them were fun, and all of them were against popular decks, and hopefully you like them as well. Well, thank you for watching and enjoy the videos. In this first game, I'm matched up against Nilfgaard, and the leader ability is Tactical Decision, which means that it's a Kolgrim deck, and Tactical Decision is really a good fit for deck manipulation, and we'll see if I'm right or wrong. Let's take a look at our mulligan choices. This is a nice mix of gold and bronze cards, but I think it's best that I get some of my key cards, because my opponents will try to put a lot of garbage cards on the top of my deck, so it could be difficult to draw my key cards. I didn't want to risk my mulligans further. I have a Neuromancy, I can get a hold of Series, and with the second copy of it I can always draw Heatwave, and then a Heatwave of Kolgrim, obviously. I promise you a quick death. Anyhow, well, I didn't have a solid first turn choice, so I had to go with the Brockwar Hunter, even though the pink will probably go to waste because there is no targets. But as you see, none of these cards are proactive. Well, obviously I won't be able to use Gramis. Gramis is really crucial to get rid of Fionn. So Gramis is the only card that I'm not planning to use in this round. Well, as expected, the focus weapon hit the Hunter, and the Hunter goes to the top of my deck, which isn't really nice. Well, now I have a target, so I can play my reactive cards, like the Bear here. And the Savage Bear is an obvious choice. So far, my opponent is thinking that I am playing a Lippy deck, because those are the same cards that I found in Lippy deck. And here comes Portal, and drawing Portal in the first round is really great for these type of decks. I immediately Gutting Slash the Infiltrator. I really don't want that card to be in my deck. But we'll see the second spawn of Portal, so that has yet to arrive. And here comes the Surgeon. And right now I think it's really a good time to go for Series. And then I'm also hitting the lamp. And by the way, in the deck guide, I had Tactical advantage, and I think Tactical Advantage is a better choice. Especially, you'll see why. Another Nausicaa Sergeant. And right now it's 24 to 16. I can pass, but I really don't want to pass because round control is really, really important. And I can't play Bear Witcher because it's not Adrenaline 4 yet. Again, the same thing goes for Harrenkader. I think I will go ahead and dedicate using Swellblood Totem in this round, which is a bit early, but if I want to win this round, that's what I have to do. And maybe playing Savage Bear on the range row wasn't really a great idea. But typically you don't want to play a lot of cards on the melee row because Series will, use this melee row. Here comes Menno into coated weapons. I think this is a smart move, removing the Fanatic on the left side of Totem, And now if I hit the totem, the bear will get damaged. So in order to prevent that, I'm using the location card and using Bear Witcher. But the placement of Bear Witcher is wrong in my opinion. I should have put it on the left side of the location. So that's an error.
What are you gonna do?
And then I hit the infiltrator. And then hit the totem, and Savage Bear didn't get any damage thanks to that. But as I said, that Witcher Bear should have been next to the bear, where he is familiar with. And here comes Viper Witcher. Unfortunately, that Lampkin is right now on the top of my deck. And it's a 12-point lead right now. I mean, I can pass, but my opponent will find a way to, you know, pass me with one card. But that will probably mean him using leader ability. But still, I don't want to give up the round, especially after playing the totem. Now I played the Witcher Bear, and as you see, if I had put the other one, I would have been 45, not 42, so that was an error. And there's a 22-point gap, but as you see, my opponent plays the location card. Actually, if he waited one more turn, he could have used that mentor card, but instead he preferred to use Viper Witcher. And since there are a lot of cards, and I doubt that Wild Boar will be more useful in the final round, so I took the opportunity and used Wild Boar to finally make my opponent surrender. But that's not the case. It's 43 to 18, and my opponent is using the leader ability. Gets 6 points. And more to come. Here comes a pawn, another 5 point. And he will play his card right now. Those were a byproduct of the leader ability, and another Viper Witcher, a third one, and another Jin goes to the top of my deck, and all of a sudden it's only 6-point deficit. Now I have to use Arnegat, and Arnegat comes into play with 8 armor, and he probably had some crap cards in his hand, or maybe a mentor card. But he can't play it because Arnegat will destroy whatever he plays. So that card was like, okay, now it's time to surrender. But I mean, I use Arnegat, and I won't be able to use it against Kolgrim. But I will draw Oniromancy, at least I know that. With Oniromancy I can draw my Heat Wave. And with Grimace, I think I should be able to win, even though, I mean, I draw my crappy cards. As you see, all of the garbage that my opponent threw at me are being drawn by me. There's nothing I can do about it, because there is no option to shuffle the deck. And as you see, the size difference between decks is pretty big, 6 to 15, so there's a 9 card difference. I mean, ideally, I wanted to, you know, bleed the opponent, but as you look at my hand, it's really bad. I can't, you know, go for bleed with this hand. And my opponent plays Cynthia, and another crap goes on the top of my deck. And the location ability, and now it's 6 to 17, the deck size. It's really huge. And I keep drawing crap. And unfortunately, the mulligans aren't that great either, so most of the gold cards are in the deck. As you see, Park is missing, which is really crucial, but at least I have an Oniromancy. And here comes Leon, first turn play, and I'm gonna play Grimmest. And there's no point in waiting, because I mean I could have played maybe Bear Witcher first, Adept, maybe after that Gramis. That could have been a maybe better play. I mean, I didn't want to play Brokwak Hunter because I mean Fionn has 4 armor and he won't be able to use the Zeal ability, so I preferred to use Grimmist here. And here comes Imperial Brigade, and you would expect the second copy of it would spawn from the deck, but as you see, my opponent was able to brick it, even though he only has 3 cards in the deck remaining. Now I can play Hunter and hit the Brigade. And the second one. This is really good for me, obviously. And as you see, Bear Abomination is a beast, and he will trigger Hunter's ability. The cooldown was reduced, and I was able to use the ability one more turn. But as you see, since my Abomination has Doom Tech, my opponent was able to use the thinning card over there. So if I hadn't used that, maybe he wouldn't have a chance to use the packs. Okay, the Witcher Adept is going to recharge himself, and here comes Kolgrim as expected, with Adrenaline 2. Well, the defender isn't functioning, so it doesn't matter where he puts the card, and the play is obvious here. I'm gonna Oneiromancy into Heatwave. Well, actually, this is another misplay in my part. I could have, used more Quark. Why Heatwave? That would have been 5 more points. Thinking about it, Fortunately, that didn't cost me the game. Spoiler, obviously. And here comes Letho, and since there is no Kolgrim anymore, Letho will pick the best target, which is Hunter. But it's a 5 power Hunter, since that was Letho. But there is Bloodthirst, and I can use Guiding Slash, although, I mean, he only has 1 card, so he wasn't able to, he wasn't going to be able to use the cooldown again. And here comes Leo Bonhart, and my opponent makes a mistake here. He used it on a melee row, thinking there are no units above 9 power or equal to 9 power, but he forgot about the second ability of Leo. He can outright destroy any Witcher. And this little guy here, even though he's a student yet, an adept yet, he's a Witcher. And that's a 7-point loss there. That ability is rarely being used, so maybe my opponent forgot about it. And Fanaticism is actually a great target for my leader ability, that's why I kept him. And using the final leader charges, and then the Brokwak Hunters hit, and as you see it's 22 to 32. And that 7-point misplay wouldn't have mattered, so it's good for my opponent there. He does, I mean, but if you think about it, if I had used more Quark, that would have been an even better win for me. So both players made mistakes here. Let's move on to the next game, which is against the most popular deck right now in the meta, which is Lippy with Ursine Ritual. Fortunately, I have red coin here, because the opposite scenario would have been a disaster. But as you see, I have access to series with Oneiromancy. I'm trying to improve my hand quality here, maybe taking a single mulligan, and more Quark is actually trash in this matchup. So instead of more Quark, I draw series, which is amazing. now that I can use Neuromancer with something
What is
else.
it?
Well, as you see, Brockwork comes into play, and I immediately destroy him with Cutting Slash. That was an easy decision. Here comes a Neuromancy, probably into series, and here comes a Roach. And all of a sudden, my opponent has 18 points on the board, and that's an easy heatwave target for me. Well, I mean, it looks like only a 4-point play, but most of the experienced players know that that's actually 8 points more, because my opponent won't be able to use series like the second time, and that's actually a 12-point heatwave. And not being able to use the series second time is really a big deal for my opponent.
Let's not get in the way of me axe.
And here comes a lot of points with discard, and the Knickers is here. It's 25 points. But I keep playing because I have access to series. Series will provide me about 15. No, that's 4 for 12. Yeah, 15 points. So I need to always calculate that, just in case I can add those points. And you know, I can go down to 4 cards. I mean, I won't mind playing a long round, which is actually better for me. Now I'm planning to follow up Brockwork Hunter with Bear, Savage Bear. My opponent is thinking about probably passing. That could have been a mistake for him. He passes here. But he doesn't know he's actually not playing against the Lippy deck, because none of the cards indicate that I'm not playing a Lippy deck. Well, if you look at the remaining cards, I'm not planning to use Totem, obviously, and maybe Gramis. Gramis could be an option, actually. Well, I go ahead and use Quartermaster here, I think, or the Bear. I think I'll pick Bear, because Quartermaster could be more beneficial in the next round, especially combined with Lugos. So I go with Bear and use Bleeding ability. As you see right now, it's 20-point difference, and I won't be able to close the gap with only series, but I can go down to 4 passes, just as I mentioned before. My opponent actually didn't use Mask of Ouroboros at all, so that stratagem was useless for my opponents. And now I'm gonna play 2 cards. But what will be the second card? I mean, I can use Quartermaster and then save 1 leader charge, but there's no need to do that. I have 5 chargers, plenty of chargers. I use the first one. Now I only need 4-point card, and what is the best worst 4-point card in my hand? Well, actually, the worst 4-point card is in my deck. I can use the first Neuromancy into Squirrel and banish my opponent's Neuromancy from his graveyard. I think this is a big play. And I won the round. My opponent's series got Heatwave, and his Neuromancy was banished. Well, I got down to 4 cards. Now I have to play the long round. But as I said, it's great news for me. It's not a bad news. Well, this hand is pretty good actually, but I want to, you know, improve the quality and try to find another gold card, which I was able to do so, and make the dry pass, obviously. My opponent uses Bear, which is a dry pass card. Cutting Slash, Savage Bear, and Morkbark. None of these cards are good. And ironically, Morkbark is the worst one. I think I'll discard Cutting Slash. Savage Bear is the second copy, so that's nice. And actually, you know, there was an argument that, you know, mulligan away Gramis could have been a better choice. Because Gramis is kind of useless. Maybe he can, you know, purify bleeding. That's all he can do. Well, my opponent started with his totem, and I'm responding to that with my own totem. Totems are really great when you're playing against Skeletor. Now they can't bleed me, bleed my units. Their best option is using Cutting Slash, which he doesn't have apparently. Pick up Quartermaster, and this is a mistake in my opinion. Why would you, you know, hit that totem? You know, now I can use my Lugos. And at this time, you know, I wanted my opponent to keep playing proactive cards. And I'm kinda using a unitless strategy here. Besides, that card is really good, so I think it's worth using Deduction. Here comes Hunter though. So maybe Hunter was a better option for Deduction. And as you see, he can't use the Zeal ability because of the Fanatics here. A second copy of Bear comes along and does 2 times bleeding. I specifically hit bleeding on the Hunter. The revenge of the Bear, I guess. And I want to destroy that Hunter with my Bear Witcher. Here comes Snowdrop. And thanks to this card, this deck is much better, by the way. Because, you know, it can manipulate your deck, which this deck really needed that. Well, I can't play the Adrenaline 4 cards, but I can play Bear Witcher. That is an engine, so I think it's time to play him. I could have played Herkia as well. Maybe playing her was a better choice. Lippy. As you see, is here, and we will have even more units on the board right now. At least he wasn't able to use a location. As you see, it's in the graveyard. I think it's a good time to use Lugos right now.
Come on, let's go.
I'm gonna use the remaining 4 charges. And these damages are random. It would be really nice if that one of the damages would have hit the Brockwark Hunter over there, but they're not hitting. You know, I can use the final charge. Because there isn't any more targets. I think that's what I'm going to do here. Unfortunately, the Hunter is safe. And he can use the ability once more. Well, the score is pretty close, but you know, series will come along. And here comes the Bernabran. My opponent can discard one of the special discard cards. The gap will be even further. And as expected, the 4-point card, and the Knickers comes along. All of a sudden it's 39 to 23. It's not looking good for me. Well, now it's Adrenaline 4. I can play Bear Witcher.
What are you gonna do, huh?
And that Hunter is becoming annoying, so I have to kill him, even though I'm gonna hit. I mean, 1 point will be wasted, but if you think about it, you know, he was going to use that ability 2 more times, so I think that was a correct call here. Well, there is a reason that I put Bear Witcher next to Lugos. And here comes the Shield Maidens without their queen. And as you see, my opponent lost 8 points because of that heat wave. Now I can either play Herkia, which is actually really late. As you see, I mean, the Herkia selection isn't that great. I'm gonna play Herkia and
Swear it upon the gods, I will avenge my
use the
father.
ability. I could have waited for the pings, but I mean, I was afraid of a stunning blow or something like that. You never know what they can play.
Take care of your blades and they'll
Here
take
comes
care of
Watermaster. This is probably an indication that the Blue Boy Lugos will come. But I think, again, my opponent made a mistake here. He should have played it on the melee row. Because if he plays Lugos, there is no room for the students to spawn. Only one student can spawn here. And also, now it's a critical time for me. I'm gonna use the location card. And I'm putting it in between Lugos and the Bear Witcher intentionally. Because Igni exists. And some versions of this deck uses Igni. And by the way, I don't want to kill any of the units to make room for my opponent. And as you see, in the next round, if I use the location card, the powers will, I mean, let's say like this. If I had put the Bear Witcher card next to the location, when I click on it, both of them will be 8 power. And if my opponent uses his Igni, both of them will be gone. So that would be a 16-point Igni, which is really huge. And right now, as you see, if my opponent plays Igni, only my Witcher Adept will be gone. So 7-point Igni is quite weak. And as you see, my opponent has to kill Roche to make room for the students. And he could have used that ping on Lugos, but he wasn't able to use because of the misplacement there. Now he's using the rest of the leader abilities on Lugos. Right now the melee row, again, the high powered unit is 6. Yeah, I think it's a good time to play a Gramist. And with Oniomancy, I think the choice is obvious. Wild Boar of the Sea is will really be nice.
Not you again.
I played Gramists, and finally I think it's time to use Svalblood Totem, because you'll never know, you know. He can destroy one of the fanatics there, and I don't want to hit Totem and accidentally, you know, damage Gramist. My opponent is 7 points ahead of me. What's his final card? Well, it's Igni, as I anticipated. Unfortunately, I played around Igni, and it's only a 3 plus 7, 10 point Igni, and here comes the Wild Boar of the Sea, wiping away all the units. Massive point swing there. 46 to 37. I think it was really a satisfying victory for me. This deck is pretty good against Lippy decks in my opinion. But don't forget that I was on red coin. Things could have been different if I was playing blue coin.
You get a thunderbolt. You get a thunderbolt.
And the final game, which I selected for you guys, is once again tactical decision and Kolgrim deck. But this game was really interesting and fun. That's why I selected it. And I hope you guys enjoy this one as well. Well, my mulligan selections, I mean, these cards are okay, but I think I need more gold cards. But instead of drawing a gold card, I drew another Gutting Slash. Well, if you remember the first game, this will be a repeat. My opponent will put my bronze cards on top of my deck, which will make my draws horrible in the next round. So it's really important that I get round control. Well, I played Brockbark Hunter, and again I am expecting a coated weapons, which is a natural choice here.
Go ahead. Stare at
Well, at least Quartermaster will be saved if he doesn't have a second weapons. He doesn't, and he plays Artbane Tortoise, which is an odd choice in this deck. If I were building it, I already have one. I'm not using those tortoises. Well, perfect target for the Quartermaster, as you see. This is a great combo. You hit Lugos, you spawn the Witcher tokens, and as you see, Lugos is all of a sudden 7 power. Why? Because of Tortoise. The Tortoise boost luckily went to Lugos, so I can keep, using the leader ability, and I wish I had another Quartermaster. That would have been great. But Quartermaster's charges are only 2. Here comes Brigade.
Discipline. That is what you
Compared to the
lack.
first game, my opponent didn't brick his Brigade. I'm using the Guiding Slash here. I could have kept using leader ability for Lugos. But I think I didn't want to give away what I'm playing. So right now it looks like a Lippy deck according to my opponent. Although I'm not sure if they're using Cutting Slashes. Maybe one, I guess. Here comes Viper Witcher because it's Adrenaline 6, and bad news for me, because that 2-powered student token is right now at the top of my deck, and I'm gonna draw it. I use the second one, Cutting Slash, use the leader ability twice actually. Maybe I could have used only once. But I think I got scared that Lugos would be destroyed. Another Viper Witcher.
Your life is
More trash on the top of my deck. Well, next round isn't looking bright. So it's really essential that I need to take ground control here. And all of a sudden I'm having some connection issues, so I'm gonna skip the video a bit further. Well, if those connection problems lasted a bit longer, I would have disconnected from the server at all and lost the game. So I'm lucky it didn't happen. Here comes location card and the Bear Witcher. This time I'm being careful with the placement. My opponent passed. I didn't expect that, because the point difference wasn't that big. He could have used the leader ability if he wanted to take control of it, but maybe he had a lot of gold cards. Anyhow, I didn't use the location, so I can use the order ability in this round if I want to, but you're seeing the cards I'm drawing, so all those 3 cards were sent by my opponent, and instead I draw even more bad cards. Well, again, this is not a bleed hand. I mean, I can lose my last say if I play like this, if I keep pushing with this hand, so I think it's better to, forfeit the location cards. It's not worth, getting those heal value. So I just pass here. I'm still thinking about it, by the way. But I'm gonna pass. And also I have Wild Boar of the Sea, so I kinda, depend on it because it's going to be a long round.
What is it you
And
want?
some interesting things happen on the board. Pay attention to what my opponent is doing. Well, he played Roderick. I was thinking like maybe he has a great hand, so you know he has to use Roderick, but I think he's doing it on purpose because he wants to play Portal. Well, with Portal, obviously you're thinning out your deck, and then he put Infiltrator, you know, on the board. That will come into my hand, and the deck size difference will be even greater. So I kinda understand it, but you know, you can do it on the first turn of the final round, so it is an odd choice, but things are getting weirder. Normally, you know, you pass, right? But this opponent is a greedy Nilfgaard player and keeps playing his cards. It's really odd. I mean, is it worth, you know, losing your card? I mean, okay, you're thinning out your deck, I understand. You're getting more Kolgrim value, but you're not gonna be playing one of your cards. You know, I will have double last say. This is insane. This is just insanity in my opinion. I don't know why this guy is doing it. It doesn't make sense.
Nothing will stop us.
This is not an easy deck, by the way, that Kolgrim deck. Or maybe my opponent isn't used to playing it, I don't know. Well, he got a second Infiltrator out of the portal, so that's good for him, I guess. So the Kolgrim value is getting bigger and bigger. But what point it is if the opponent destroys your, you know, Kolgrim. Okay, got a lucky draw there with Arnegat, and an unlucky draw there with Infiltrator, but no, it's normal. As you see, I'm missing Heatwave, Totem, and a series. So with Oneiromancy, I will probably series or Heatwave. My opponent starts with Cynthia. I'm looking at the graveyard because I'm gonna play Squirrel, which is the worst card in my hand. But not right now because Squirrel is a beast.
I promise you a
I need to start with this guy. And I have to follow him up with playing beast cards. By the way, right now the deck difference is 3 to 15, 12.
Nilfgaard's iron might!
Here comes Fionn, and then plays the leader ability for no reason.
Peace you desire.
I think
Prepare for war.
it's a bit early, and he plays both of those cards on melee roll and Fionn on range roll, and he's giving me targets. If they were behind the defender, you know, I have to play the Grimace right now, but I'm in no rush to play Grimace. I can do it anytime I want, and Kolgrim, he can't play Kolgrim for 4 more turns. So instead, you know, since my opponent gifted me with targets on the melee row, I'm gonna go ahead and play my beasts, I guess. Let's see what I will do. Yes, playing Savage Bear makes sense. I bleed Afan, just create red health units, and then hit the leader. Another tortoise. Well, I can play one of the bronzes here, either Squirrel or Infiltrator. If I play Squirrel, Hunter will hit one more, so that's why I prefer Squirrel. There is really nothing to banish here, it's not important. And Hunter gets another charge. Well, right now there are 3 red health units, so I think Tortoise is a good choice. I can hit one more, and then I will have 3 health, since the barricade will be lifted. Well, the timing of cards is really important. If you look at my hands, Arnegas is the crucial card here. I need to play it when I have 4 cards left, so I need to play 2 more cards before playing Arnegat. And the selection of those cards is really important. Here comes the location card, and the Viper Witcher Adapt is spawned. And he is behind Defender this time, and I need to then purify the Defender. For some odd reason, my opponent kept playing those units on the melee though. I don't understand. Was he expecting a Heimdall from me? Maybe. My opponent only has 2 cards left, so phenomenal job of winning the deck. But he did it, you know, for sacrificing and giving me 2 last days. Was it worth it? We'll see. Here comes Viper Witcher Mentor. This card is pretty good actually, but as you see, and the Adrenaline 2 thing and Kolgrim's Adrenaline 3, they need to be played almost at the same turn. So this card needs to be played in the first turn. And I don't like this card in this deck actually. It's better that you spawn that card with your location, and which he didn't. So instead of getting more health, he only got 7 visions and 8 power card. I can kill it with more fight, so it doesn't matter, but my opponent doesn't know that. I hit the final armor, and unlucky for me, the boost went to Gremist. I wish it went to a lower powered unit, one of those 4s. And Viper Witcher Adept was at 4 health, I think 5 health, and Giga Scorpion hits for 6. But if I don't play Giga Scorpion Decoction, and I need to play Arnegat in the next turn, so I had to play Decoction, because otherwise the Witcher Adept would have gone to 7 power. So that's why I did that. And here comes Ivar Evil Eye, and that 9 power Gremist is no more. So that's not a bad Ivar, that's an okay Ivar. But my opponent wished he had used Ivar on the card that I'm playing. And my opponent has a coded weapon actually in his hand. It didn't make sense. Why didn't he use it on Rock Hunter? And at this moment the deck size difference is 14, which is huge. And the score is 44 to 23. It looks like, I'm gonna be blown out of the game. My opponent has a comfortable lead, but this play really changes the game. Arnegat comes into play with actually only 4 armor, and but this is a nightmare scenario for my opponent. My opponent has Kolgrim and Leto Kingslayer in his hands, and he can't play either of them because they will be destroyed by Arnegat. Just watch. He can't play Kolgrim because he is going to be destroyed. He plays Lethal, and as soon as Lethal transforms into something else, Arnegat hits him and kills him, and he still has 6 power left. So that Lethal would have been a Kolgrim, a 14-point Kolgrim. He's no more. I play my crap card, by the way. And here comes Kolgrim. So this was a misplay, He should have played it much earlier. Why didn't he play this card? So he hit Arnegat with coded weapons, but Arnegat survives, and that would be enough to kill Kolgrim actually, because Kolgrim's ability isn't deployed on summon. He's an engine, so that ability will trigger at the end of the turn. So Arnegat will hit him, and he is only 1 powered, and he will kill him. And right now I'm thinking about, whether to use more quark or wild boar. But as you see, more quark is also an answer to Kolgrim. But I think using wild boar at this time is a safer choice. Here comes Kolgrim and gets killed by Arnegat. Did you just see how many value I got from Arnegat? Kolgrim had 14 power, would have got 14 power, and also Letho was going to copy him. So there are a lot of points there, and also coded weapons. Arnegat absorbed that damage, so at least a 40-point swing there. So Arnegat practically won me the game. But again, I mean, I had, Gramis purified it. I had more quark, and I have access to the heat wave. So I probably would have won anyway. But right now, this is an easier win for me, thanks to Arnegat. Now more quark destroys the mentor. And as you see, this is already a win for me. But I wanted to, complete my plays. Now I can play series instead of heat wave, and then get all the shield maidens and leader ability. And now the tables have turned. It's 26 to 49. Again, a satisfactory win here. And thanks to this win, I moved to pro rank, and I'll be facing more experienced and better players, I guess. Well, thank you for watching, and I hope you liked the videos that I shared with you, and hope to see you in another Duello video. If you like this video, hit the like button please, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please feel free to do so, because as you see, I'm putting English language videos from time to time. And see you next time. Bye bye.